Hi Jitin, hi
Right.
Raju.
Hi.
If you could turn on the video, we will start now.
Yeah.
Let me check your list. So you have 11 plus years of experience, right?
Yeah.
So can you give an overview of the technologies you worked?
Yeah. Coming to my 11 plus years of experience in .NET, completely I was in .NET and started with the ASP.NET MVC. Now I am working with the .NET Core and Microservices. I have good exposure on Azure services like Kubernetes, function apps, app service, storage accounts, and app insights. Different in terms of log analytics and checking of the managed identity, user managed and system managed identity, and the ADFS authentication and authorization using the CI/CD process involvement as well. Coming to good exposure on databases, SQL Server, different versions, and on-premise database as well. I have completed MCA from Acharya Nagarjuna University, and I was working as a lead software engineer in current organization. Jadid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mainly worked in app service, microservice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Okay, fine. So how you normally deploy your application to Azure?
Yeah, by using CI/CD pipeline, YAML pipeline, I'm using the jobs and steps. And if you want to create another step for other environment like dev and QA, it is go to UAT. Dev environment is for developer testing, and the QA environment is for all the QA team. UAT environment business team along with the QA team. Once they will approve it or they give us a sign off, it will move to prod.
Okay, so have you involved in this building this YAML files?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So what is the significance of a deployment slots in Azure Web App?
Yeah, there is the deployment slot basically is for it's a blue green deployment. I want to have a blue deployment as green deployment in terms of it's a kind of backup. If something is pops up at the time of it's a kind of pre-production. We will ask the user to make some kind of load of after giving the new build or new release. If something is pops up, we can able to revert it back very quickly by using the previous versions of green deployment. It's a kind of the backup option to make as available the slots to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you faced any challenges or limitations using deployment slots?
Challenges, I don't think so, because we have only the I have faced, whenever we are trying to make it as from non-prod to prod reversion, we have the concept of DB changes and the code changes. Code changes we can able to revert it back very quickly because we have the already code base. We can able to do deployment. But if we have that already the database changes already getting into the final production, if you want to revert back the databases changes, it is very difficult comparing to the limitation of the slots.
Okay. And how will you normally how you normally remotely debug this application hosted in web app?
Basically, we have an option of general settings enable the remote debugging option, and that is what we haven't tried, but I have seen that option and I have seen the theoretically, but we have added as a logger serial log, and to save that log information in the storage of particular app service. We'll try to find out what is exactly happening on exception, global exception handling like that. But remote debugging I haven't tried, Jatin.
Okay. Then coming to Azure function, what's the difference between a logic app and a function?
Function app is a trigger. Logic app is also kind of a some kind of decision making. Like if it is a true, it has to go to the this path. If it is a false, it has to go to the decision making. Has to be the flow of the request. It has to be designed in a dynamically in the logic app, and this is a trigger. Function app are all are trigger. It's kind of a something is happening. It's a kind of SQL server. We have the triggers, right? But if it is happen something, it will be triggered automatically. It will perform that operation as a background.
Okay. So what are the different types of triggers available for a logic app?
Logic app, I have seen that the Cosmos DB trigger is also there. Service bus trigger is also there. Queue and topic triggers. And I have seen direct HTTP trigger also there. But these are all the things which have been worked. And theoretically, there are a lot of things are there in terms of send grid and event grid. All the things we can able to achieve by using the extensions or by using the some connectors in the logic app.
Okay.
Mhm.
So like how you like normally debug your Azure functions? So while testing like writing the Azure function, while creating the Azure functions, and how will you normally debug that?
We have a concept of the console. We will add the log information in a function app, and we will enable that in the logic. And if you go to the portal.azure.com, you can have that console. All the log information will be able to see the console or the log stream was one of the option is available. We will be able to find out whether it is a web logs or the application logs.
Oh.
Yeah. Hello, are you able to hear me, Jitin?
Yeah. Continue.
Yeah, we have the two options are there. One thing is the console, console stream. We can able to enable that console, and we can able to find out whenever the function app is running, and this information, whatever the console information, we will be able to see if the application is available. Otherwise, we have a concept of log stream. You can also do that using the log stream. We can enable that log stream, whether it is in application level or web server level. We can able to find it what is exactly happening.
And you have been Azure authentication, right?
Yes.
So what are things you will configure to enable this Azure AD authentication?
We need to create an application, and we need to give a permissions to the application in a subscription level. It's a kind of service principle. One thing we can use that service principle in a CI/CD process to communicate in terms of JAT authentication background. It has to go to the AD and find it out whether the request is valid or not by using this. Jatin, are you able to hear me? Is there any issue from my side?
Yeah. Sometimes it is breaking.
Oh, okay.
It is fine now.
Okay. But the thing is, we have a concept. We can use that ADFS authentication in different ways by using CI/CD process service principle, or by using the application has to be connected by using JAT token or identity OAuth2 and OpenID connect. Also, we can able to achieve. Basically, we have to be create one. We have to register that application with the tenant ID. We have to give that what is the application URL and redirect URL, and we have to configure as a manifest file. What are the things it is we are expected to give as a response.
So have you done like something related to one second? So is your application an API or what's a web application?
Yeah, both we have Angular with .NET Core container images using app service, and we have also deployed AKS as well. It's a kind of different modules are there in that application.
Okay. And you also use microservices.
Yes.
Okay. So what are the advantages of using a microservice?
Basically, I saw that advantage of the microservice is loosely coupled. If I want to develop a project with the different collaborate teams, Java, .NET, and Python team, we don't want to bother about the technology, and we don't want to bother about the dependency. We can able to create an image. We can able to push it. It will run the container. It will be very faster and loosely coupled, and it will be a more in terms of if something is pops up on a particular module, I don't want to downside that entire site itself. If there is something is it is easily maintainability, easily scalable. In terms of maintainability, if you have the something in the one of the service we have to give a build, we can go ahead with that build. That application will not work. All the messages will go to the service bus or some some of the messaging queuing mechanism in terms of RabbitMQ or in terms of service bus. In other way, if you want to scale up of one of the instance, we don't need to bother about scaling of all the instance. If you take as a service plan, if you scale out all the apps which are under the app service plan, it will be scaled out, even if you are not using the other applications. But here, this whenever we have a model, we want to scale up, we can able to scale up only the specific model itself.
Okay, and suppose if I want to communicate with each other, like between different microservices, so how will you do that?
By using the service bus asynchronous mechanism, by using RabbitMQ and service bus, we have used the service bus queues and topics.
And, coming to .NET Core, like what's the advantage of .NET Core EC when comparing with normal .NET application?
Yeah, it's basically it's a platform independent. I can say develop an application, we can host in Windows or Windows container, Linux container, like that. And it is it's a kind of I can see that it's a kind of modular based application, and cloud readiness it will be very supported. Coming to the most of the feature will be supported Azure as well AWS. If you compare with the .NET MVC, .NET Core is more friendly in terms of cloud readiness, and in terms of on-premise application which was there, you can easily move to cloud. It's a kind of uh, basically it's one of the advantages is also not a like paid version. It is a freeware we can able to utilize, and we it can be extendable, it can be if you want to have that other packages, we can able to develop easily with compared to there is a less dependency with the packages and other things. If you want to extend, we can also extend, but in the .NET framework we have a lot of dependency in terms of extendability, in terms of scalability of an application.
Okay, fine. So, like, do you know how .NET Core support multiple platforms?
By using Kestrel server, it's a class platform web server. It's a lightweight server compared to IaaS. This will be it depends on the hosting model. What is the hosting model, in proc or out proc? ASP.NET hosting model is we have the, I think I forget the name exactly. It depends on hosting models. By default, hosting model is if you are not selecting .NET Core application name, it will try to utilize an IaaS server. IaaS server will be given as a request to Kestrel. Kestrel will be treated as a proxy that time. Otherwise, by default application running by using the Kestrel server only if you run by the console .NET run, .NET build, like that.
And in .NET Core, like while registering dependency, there are three ways in which we can specify the lifecycle.
Okay.
So what are they?
We have a scoped singleton, transient, and scope. These are all the things. It's a kind of what is the lifetime of the instance which we are going to use in the application.
Can you say an example where you will choose a transient?
Transient is one of the example. I want to create an object each and every time, even though if it is a same request or the another request. For example, I want to create a logger class. Other thing, I want to create a DB instance, DB context. It's not required for all the times. It requires only one time. That will comes under the singleton or scope single transient. We have the transient scoped, right? It will come into the scoped. For example, if you want to have a transient, there is a requirement in terms of updating the update the or sending that information from whenever we got a request from the controller. I want to have it has to go to the service. That time also I want to send a separate request with a separate distribution list. I want to inject two different instances based on the some requirement. In that case, we can go ahead with the transient.
Okay. Okay, can you explain like how the ASP.NET Core request process pipeline works?
Yeah, it's a kind of each request it has to go through the pipelining process. Pipelines is kind of an extension based programming. It will try to check in. You mean to say how that pipeline will work, or how the request?
Like what happens when the request came to
Okay.
.NET Core? How it's been?
Okay, when the request comes to the .NET Core, and it will try to uh, it will first of all it will inject a configure service, and it will go to the configure method, and it will try to identify what is the order of the middleware. If it is try to create a based on the request, it will try to identify which middleware it is going to be execute. It will create an object of the middleware, and the middleware with whatever the request, it will match to the respective middleware. It will try to pass the next piece of middleware if it is a use or run method, and it will, after that middleware, it will try to identify the routes and what is the route, and it will create a route table, and it will goes to the particular if it is matching of any of the route, it will go to the controller factory, will create an object of a particular controller. There itself we have the flow of execution of the method and returning. From the return itself, it will also involving of the middlewares from the reverse order, like bottom to top. What is the how the request has to be response to the request middlewares in a pipeline.
And how will you normally handle exceptions in .NET Core?
We have a custom middleware we have implemented. That custom middleware will call us we have to register the custom middleware, and if there is any unhandled exception or something, we can able to handle that middleware, and we will write a try catch blocks, multiple catch blocks. It's a kind of hierarchy in terms of parent. First we need to handle the child level like that, and if it is not happening, we have to handle an global exception like exception object. We will try to log the information of the particular error.
One second.
Okay.
Okay. So you work in .NET Core APIs, right?
Yes.
So how will you normally authenticate your API?
By using jar token, private key, and validate that token. After that, getting the claims and checking on authorization.
Okay. So have you used any Azure AD for this API authentication?
For APIs, no. For one of the application which is to authenticated by the AD by using the AD users only.
Okay. So you'll be passing this token in header.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And how will you normally version an API? Have you worked on versioning?
Yeah, we have.
Versioning?
Yeah, definitely. The versioning is one of the part of APIs. For example, we have the predefined package of the versioning, and we can add as a version number before API slash. It's a kind of v1 slash API slash controller and action name. If you want to add another version of a particular controller in the controller level itself, we can add as a versioning, or as well as an action method level. Also, we can add the new version. If you want, you can add another method or new existing method. We can as an optional parameter. If the optional parameter equal to 0, it will go to the new block of code. Else block, it will survey the existing clients like that.
Okay. Suppose normally REST API returns JSON data. Suppose if I want to change that into XML, how can I do that?
We can have that concept of accept header. If you mention as a star, it will return all the things. By default is a JSON. If you want to specify the content type as an application slash XML, application slash JSON, application slash, it's a kind of a content type based on the what is the content type you are expecting. It will depends on. Otherwise, we can also do the same thing in terms of application level as XML formatter or JSON formatter, like that also.
Okay. And what all things you consider to secure your API?
Things considered secured your API.
Yeah, to secure your API. Yeah.
Security, we need to first of all how the authentication has to be worked, and how the user has to be passed. For example, everyone knows authorization attribute will come from the header. In this, instead of sending, we can treat as a custom header of authorization, like X-authorization, UST-authorization, like that. That is one way. Second way is we can also need to be handled with the certificate. The certificate in terms of HTTPS, and if you can HTTPS along with the whatever the authorization, and the private key and public key, those are also will comes into the picture. As well as instead of that one, we can move that entire authentication and authorization part as a separate thing in terms of API management, and those will be taken care, and it will go to the specific service instead of making of authentication authorization is controller and action method, like that. Once request, if it is authenticated, it has to be done to the API level or gateway level. I can able to proceed further.
Okay. Have you used Async and await in your program?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens if we execute an asynchronous method but don't await it?
It will show as a warning. But yeah, if it is okay, it will give us an error. Method should be it should be async. It should be await. It has to be required. Otherwise, it will show an error.
So without awaiting it, like
we can do that one. We can do that by the await configuration false or true, or if it is the method which will return as a task dot from result. There are multiple ways we can able to achieve it, but we have done by using the task dot from result instead of putting as an await task dot from result. It will wait internally. No need to go.
We use continue with.
Yeah, continue with the yes.
So what's the use of that continue?
I want to perform the second operation once completion of the first operation itself. If you use the async and await, it's a kind of asynchronous programming. I don't want to continue of the second method. Once the first method complete only, I want to give as some kind of input of some kind of output of the first method also possible. But as a requirement, I want to continue of the second method first after completion of the first method only. Then the time we'll go with the continue with.
Okay. And what happens if an exception is thrown within an asynchronous method?
Synchronous thrown in asynchronous method.
Exception thrown inside an asynchronous method.
Exactly, what is your expectation in terms of the question? If it is normal exception will come, it will go to the exception block.
No, like if it is
okay.
There are two ways, like it can be awaited or without awaited. Right?
I think we can have the cancellation token. We can cancel that process.
So, like if it is not awaited, like and some exception happens inside that method, like what will do, like whether the application crashing or?
No, I think the application will not crash. We have the global exception handlers, right? Definitely, if we don't have any exception handler, definitely it will crash.
Okay. And what is the use of configure await method?
Configure await method. I saw that one, but as of now, I did not remember exactly.
Okay. And suppose I have 5 methods, and I want to execute these 5 methods in parallel. Okay. And I need to wait till all the 5 methods complete the execution. How can I achieve that?
By using task.parallel, task.parallel for each, parallel.each or parallel.for each, all the methods. Otherwise, we can have create a task, 5 tasks, and set it as those tasks into the array, and task.run, it will run parallelly, and it will wait it completion of all the tasks.
Okay. And coming to OOPS, like what is an advantage of an interface?
Interface is a kind of standard. I want to give a standard to the user. I don't want to give an implementation. You can call the standard. You can get as a, you can request it, and I will process it. I can give a response. I don't want to give an implementation to the outside. It's a kind of abstraction.
Okay. So how will we achieve loosely coupling using interface?
Loosely coupling using interface. For example, I have a database operation, card operations, and I have the database is SQL. I don't want to show that implementation to the outside. In future, the client want to have that other database. I don't want to change the entire code. I can change the connection string. If you can use that saving logic using the stored procedure or something, we can able to with less minor changes. We can able to achieve it in terms of creating a separate interface, separate method, and separate database connection like that. We can able to achieve by using the this kind of loosely coupling in terms of implementation.
Can we create a constructor for the static class?
Yeah, we can create.
So we are not like able to create an instance of a static class. So why we need a static constructor?
I want to initialize the static initializers in a class. In this case, it won't go. It won't create automatically. I want to have the sum of the static variables inside of a static class. I want to initialize at once. I don't want to initialize multiple times. That is the possibility we can able to achieve it.
And okay. So is it possible to initialize a readable variable from a method?
Sorry.
Is it possible to initialize a readable variable from a method?
No.
So from where will you initialize that?
Constructor only. This is a instance specific variables, not a method specific variables.
And coming to SQL, how will you handle exceptions in a stored procedure?
Try catch and rise error.
Okay. And what are things you will consider to improve the performance?
Yeah, a lot of things we have to consider, but we need first priority is to be execution cost. What is the execution cost of the particular query? What is the IO bound, or as well as index scan or table scan, and index seek? These are all the things are coming into the picture. Whenever it is also needed to have that transactions, whenever we are using the transaction in one of the SP, the same tables which we are trying to use for the previous month data, not a current month data. The transaction isolation levels also will plays a very crucial role. It depends on the case to case how to make as optimization of the query. Better to use the stored procedure. It will use the execution plan and use the execution, getting the execute plan and checking of time constraint, which query is taking more time, which IO bound is or CPU bound it is taking more time. And instead of returning of 1 lakh record from the database at a time, why can't you get those multiple calls to get the it's involved in the network traffic from app to DB, right? Multiple cases are there, but we need to check on the which cause is which case or which issue is causing an issue to slow down that application.
And how you can, like, suppose I'm in the select query, I want to select a record from like I want to select a first null value. So how can you do that in SQL?
Police?
Police. Okay. And what's a correlated queries?
Yeah, it depends on A to B, B to A. For each row, I want to get the parent ID, and I want to get the all the records from the child ID. In that case, we can go ahead with the correlated query.
And how will you handle concurrency in SQL Server?
Concurrency in SQL Server by using the transactions.
Yeah.
Commit and roll back the transactions. We can able to try catch and commit and roll back the transaction. We can able to achieve.
Have you used any isolation levels in transactions?
Yes. Isolation level by default it is a read committed, and whenever it is on the need basis, we can use the read uncommitted data. I know that what is the transaction date I have the one of the report. I want to get only the previous month's data. I don't want to get into the current month. In this case, I don't want to wait. Someone is performing an operation on the same transaction table. In this case, we can go ahead with the read uncommitted data, and even though the data is very old, not a new one.
Okay. And what is the use of for clause?
Sorry?
What's the use of for clause?
For close.
For. Have you used for?
You mean to say for loop?
Not for loop. It's a for clause. Have you used XML? Work with
Oh,
XML
okay. For class, we can, if you want to have that XML. I have used like a 4 years back, but whenever we want to convert into the record set into the XML and I want to perform some kind of operation on the nodes, we can use the for XML or for something.
Okay. Have you used a link queue?
Yes.
Okay, suppose if you have a requirement to write a query, so will you write a link queue for that or a stored procedure?
I can definitely go ahead with the requirement. If it is a 2 tables, those 2 tables are very simple table. We don't have a lot of data. Then I can go ahead with the link query. If it is a multiple tables and there is a left join and outer apply, I want to have the inner query and main query like that. Those things we can't be. It is not a good practice to achieve in the link queue. We can go ahead with the stored procedure.
Okay, and do you have any experience in unit testing?
Yeah, I have. It's not a great experience, but I can able to do that by using the Mark and XUnit.
Okay. And you also worked in Azure DevOps.
Yes.
Okay. So you're involved in all CI/CD pipelines.
Yes. Myself
And
only configured.
Okay. And have you used any deployment tools to deploy to various environments like Octopus?
I had the Octopus, but I did not get a chance to work.
Okay, so you will be directly deploying from the CI/CD pipeline.
Yeah, CI/CD and configuring the private agent also to connect the client VPN connectivity to achieve some kind of automation testings.
Okay. And you worked in what all NoSQL database you worked?
MongoDB.
Okay, Rama, that is from my side. Do you have any questions?
I just want to understand what is the exactly requirement you are looking for. Can I? I got information from the recruiter, but you are the right person to get more information, I believe.
Like I'm also not sure. Like I can only know from like what I know is from the JD. It's actually looking for Azure architect level.
Okay.
So yeah, so maybe you will be having a more interview on on Azure side.
Okay. No problem.
So yeah.
Thank you, Jatin.
Yeah, it's actually Azure main doing Azure architect kind of role.
No problem. Yeah.
So I'll update my feedback.
Thank you, Jatin. Thanks for your time. Bye.